Alright, so now on to the manga section, and we're going to start with Bleach this week. So, for Bleach, we followed the same structure as last chapter, where the beginning is based on the Soul Society, and the end is based on Ichigo's side
Correct.
of things.
But
So,
honestly, I mean, the first let's start by talking about the first half of the chapter that focused on the Soul Society.
right.
I think that we should cover that part first.
Yeah, so we finally get to see the other Vizards again, like Hiyori, Lisa, Rose, and well, not Rose, Love, and Hachi. That's it, Hachi. Who and now they all put on Shihakusho again, which was nice. I don't think we saw them all though, but they were told to put on the Shihakusho, which
I
was
believe
cool.
there's still one that isn't there. I don't think. I think maybe.
Um, Mashiro is the only one that's missing, as far as I know.
Hmm.
Let's see. Yeah, as far as I know, that's the only one that's
Yeah.
missing because Kensei is out, Rose is out. Um, obviously, what's his name is right there. What the hell is his name all of a sudden? Uh, the guy who's actually a captain again.
You're talking about the Hitsugaya? Wait, no, that's wrong guy. Wrong guy. Sorry.
Why the hell can't I remember? I remember all the names of Bleach, but all of a sudden I can't remember his name.
The the,
Um,
the
Shinji. There you go.
Shinji. They yeah.
Hirako. There you
I don't
go.
know why the hell I was I knew it was with an H.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, they're all there except for Mashiro. I don't know where the hell she is, but
And
and
then
we
for
have a very Akame ga Kiru style type of title, Kill the King, where every chapter is named Kill the in that manga. But
really
yeah,
interesting.
but I mean there's not much in this except for
For this in
a
this
lot of
part.
dialogue that really doesn't reveal a ton. It's just kind of like motivational type of speaking and trying to get everybody in their She-Hulk shows again. It's like, all right, let's go.
Of course, we have the Kenpachi being a total badass, saying, I don't give a fuck about duty. I just want to fuck people over.
Yeah,
That's legitimately his entire reasoning for doing this. Is because he just feels like he just wants to break beat people,
yep,
and this is definitely going to be interesting. See what these captains and what all these people are going to be able to do that or because as we know the situation has gotten taken a very interesting turn,
yeah.
but we'll get to that later. And was it just me or did it seem like Kisuke was trying to do a little bit of reverse psychology on the captains,
Um, you could say that definitely.
saying, "Oh, there may not be a way to come back," or something like. I just remember I was getting this vibe that he was trying to like trick them into all going because he felt like if he didn't, they wouldn't all go.
Maybe I, though to be fair, not giving a fair warning about that would also have been a dick move. So
Yeah, but they probably would have still gone anyway.
yeah,
Now, now we get to the what I feel to be the most interesting part of the chapter,
oh yeah,
and that is the what happens in the Soul King's palace. Ichigo and his boys show up to basically say, we're here to kick your ass and save the Soul King. But Bach is just like, yeah, I can see the future, and this is all part of my plan. And you're a little late. I already stabbed him.
yeah,
And then even the villain, knowing what Ichigo is going to do, is like does what most I don't think many villains would do, but he basically warns them, "Don't do what you're about to do because then more bad shit's gonna happen that's gonna benefit me and not you. And that basically is saying is that he explicitly tells Ichigo to not touch the sword.
Yeah.
But just like a little frigging kid, he does so anyway.
Yeah, that's the real reverse psychology right there.
That is the real reverse psychology, but the fact is that he said that as a joke, because he knew whether he said anything or not, Ichigo was going to try and remove the sword from the Soul King. Thinking, because Ichigo thought, oh, well, that means if I do this, then the Soul King will be able to, will be free, and he'll be saved. Nope. The exact opposite. And somehow, removing the sword causes Ichigo's Quincy blood to take over, and it forces him to slash, basically cut the Soul King in half.
Yep.
So, and with Yuhan Bak's final words of the chapter, it leaves us to believe that in the next chapter, the Soul Society will just crumble to nothing. In the next chapter, or at least that's what made me think. Is that that's what they meant, intending, because he's talking about utter destruction.
Uh-huh.
So, but this also brings up some other questions. One, if the Soul Society is destroyed as a result of this event, did the group that was trying to get to the Soul Palace make it out before the Soul Society disappears?
Oh yeah, they will.
Oh, of course. But the more important question is, does Bach still control Ichigo? Or will he continue to control Ichigo after, because Ichigo slashes the Soul King, and then he says something to Ichigo. And then that's the end of the chapter. We don't know if he's still in control of Ichigo. And if that's the case, does that mean that that Ichigo it's gonna be Ichigo against everybody? Because in some sadistic game set up by Yuhan Bach?
Who knows? It's Bleach. Anything could happen. And Kubo will make it interesting.
What makes it... And it's just... Because a lot of them are heavily injured, so... Or should I say the ones that are arriving are heavily injured. But on the other end, you have all the people who can actually do anything against Ichigo, because we haven't really seen, as far as I can remember, we haven't really seen him go, have a chance to really stretch his muscles.
Right.
Since he got his news on Paktos. So, it could be possible that only, that the majority of the people are going to be, easily taken care of by Ichigo. Yep. Leaving maybe people like Soifone or, Kenpachi to take him on in order to try and free him from Bach's control.
Yeah.
And here's the funny point. All you guys remember how, one of the things that made Aizen such a great villain is that he had a contingency plan for everything. And no matter what happened, he always... his favorite line was going according to plan. Everything's going according to plan. And to the point, the entire thing, and made you, to the point, he said this so much that it made you think that he literally could see the future and plan ahead for everything. But guess what? He couldn't see the future. Because if he did, he would have saw his defeat at Ichigo's hands. Right. Now, Bach, on the other hand, can see the future, so he can actually plan for everything.
Right.
So it just makes things... It just takes things to a whole other level. Like, how it begs the question: how can you beat someone who can see the future? How?
Well, it depends on the extent of the future, because a lot of people
Well,
can
yeah,
only
that's the
see
thing.
like vague bits of the future or like key
That's
points.
the thing, is we don't know what he sees when he looks into the future. We just know he does and can see the
Right.
future. That's all we know. So we need to learn more about this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously going to be explained more. And with all of this in mind, we like, is the Soul King really dead? And if so, what's like, who's going to take? Because obviously, there's still so many questions left to answer. Like, what the hell did the Soul King do to the Quincy that pisses them off so much? I mean, other than what we already know.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's still something we don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
And, and in traditional shonen fashion, of course, this Bach will eventually get his at some point at the hands of Ichigo. I mean, at many times, that's the traditional shonen way. Is the main character is the hero of the story, so any main villain that pops up is supposed to be taken down by the main hero. And even if that's the case, I am pretty sure Kubo's gonna make the journey from A to B worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard to say what's going to happen because Kubo's really kept things in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, we know so much about Yuha Bach, but so little at the same time. Like how he's able to do everything he can do. Like we know parts of it, but we just don't know the whole picture, and it just kind of leaves us puzzled. Like I won because I am Yuha Bach. Yeah, we need more explanation than that. It's you just kind of fought the strongest of the Squad Zero and kind of beat him
Mm-hmm.
just by saying that you are Yuha Bach and therefore you won. That doesn't quite explain it.
And unlike a certain character from a certain other manga that we will not speak of in this section, there will be an explanation as to why he's not just gonna say I win because I'm me and that's gonna be it. There's going to be reasoning behind it because we've seen how strong he is,
Yeah.
and we know that he can do some. He is probably the most powerful character in the entire verse right now at the current
Yep.
moment. So there is no question. There's no, oh well, this is bullshit. No, it's been established. He is strong as of this chapter. No one can touch his power. So there is no, oh, that's bullshit. Why is he always winning his battle so easily? No, this isn't like, again, like a certain other character that shall remain nameless in another manga, but where their wins are bullshit. No, he's there's no question. He's a beast, and he's beasting through
Yeah,
everybody.
and we're gonna know why. It's just gonna take some time.
And there's already crazy theories going on as to what happened, what the Soul King did, what happened between Bach and the Soul King, and many other theories, like there's this one theory going around about why the Soul King has no limbs, and that is that he took each of his limbs to form a child, and that one is Bach, and they're saying even one of the limbs that became one of his children is Kisuke
No.
for some reason. And because he's so meta, he just always has a solution for everything. So they're like, oh, and then, but then if that's the case, then who are the other two? What would the other two? What are the other two children? You're gonna say that the other two children, you know, aren't alive anymore, but their descendants ended up having, like, Ichigo is the descendant of the other two limbs or
Yamamoto
something?
and Baragon.
No, maybe the other one's, maybe the one's Yamamoto and the other one is an ancestor of Kenpachi or something.
It would be Baragon, the king of the hollows.
Maybe that's the case. Maybe
King of the Hollow, King of the Soul Reapers, and then the Quincy's,
like,
and then
we don't know. Yeah, the Quincy's. You have. It's just a thing that there's just so many unanswered questions that need to be answered. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I have faith that Kubo will wrap everything up without leaving a single question unanswered, because Bleach is a very complete story. Very, very complete. Where it turns up a stone and then it doesn't leave it unturned, basically.
But overall, I would say this was a pretty decent chapter.
Definitely. Alright, so you ready to move on? So are we going to go to that one now? Speaking of a certain character.
No.
Speaking of a certain character that we were.
Oh no! Speaking of a certain character, yeah, I think we should.
So it's time for a fairy tale.
Yes, and for those of you who read both Bleach and Fairy Tail, and just got done watching listening to our Bleach review, if you couldn't already tell, I was referring to Urza.
But you guys already knew that shit. Come on.
Yeah. But now let's go into the real thing. This chapter was A double chapter, and B was the first chapter of post-time skip. We got, one chapter that was pretty much one double chapter that pretty much set up everything we needed to go into the time skip, and then we had that one textless chapter that last week that pretty much showed us a little bit about Natsu and what he did at one point during his 1 year training. And he pretty much, honestly, this chapter has given me such high hopes for the series. I mean, sure, we're not going to get away. There's going to be some fairy tale tendencies in there. It's fairy tale. You're either with it. If you're still here, then you shouldn't give a shit about the way he writes his manga. All right, if you've gotten this far, if you got past the Grand Magic Games and you got past the Urza's fight in the Tartarus arc, then you can handle anything else that he throws at you for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. So don't sit there and anyway. Before we even like this, and I agree with the majority of people in how this chapter pretty much sets up that the first arc of post time skip is probably going to be one of those search for and gather the allies.
Return to Shao Body.
That one's a lot different. Everyone was, returning to one point but this is feels more like Natsu and Lucy are going to go on a journey to locate all of the Fairy Tail members and bring them back together.
Yeah.
As opposed to everyone already establishing a meeting place and time. So that's what I feel is what this first arc is going to be. And but now when you dissect the chapter, at first it seems like you don't really learn too much. At face value, it doesn't seem like you learn a lot and that not much really happens. But when you sit there and dissect it, you learn a lot. For one thing, first of all, the obvious thing is that Lucy is now living in, or at least at the in the current moment, at the current day, is in Crocus, and she is I guess, an intern for the Sorcerer Weekly. And the task at hand is, because the reason why she did this was because she wanted a job that allows her to write, because she wants to be a writer, like Strider here. So maybe you might have a shot, Strider, with Lucy.
Underage, no.
Underage, remember?
For now.
Technically, no, because what was she, like, 15 or 16 when the series began?
I honestly don't know.
And technically, even though her body didn't age, there was a 7-year time gap, so technically she's 7 years old. And with this 1-year time gap, so she's technically 8 years older than she actually is. She's 7 years older than she actually is, but the 8 years have passed since the beginning of the series. So yeah, that's really. So she's not really underage.
Okay,
really.
I can make out with a 8-year-old piece of paper on another tongue.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, it's kind of very funny. But besides the point, of course, it starts off in fairy tale fashion with the fan service and whatnot, and then and then everyone's like literally, nearly, like had a heart attack when they saw that we were going back to the Grand Magic Games. People were like, no. Oh wait, it's just a setting, a backdrop to the actual story. It's not actually the story. Whew. And then there was a collective sigh of relief that could be heard around the world, which is funny. But anyway, so then with that out of the way, we saw how some of the quote unquote up and coming guilds are doing, and how they're doing, and how the fact that they're competing in the tournament. And we also find out that apparently before the guy offered her or before she got the job as the intern, she apparently was modeling for them, which of course was pretty much a plot device for him to give more fan service.
Yep.
Which, I mean, okay, it makes sense. It's it's fan service. It's what he does. However, in terms of Lucy's character, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem in character for her to do something like that.
What's a model?
You know what I mean? Yeah, because she's beneath, like, and all the times that you see them doing that kind of stuff in, throughout the series, she's not really for that, especially all the many scenes that, just, she's not shy, but at the same time, she's not like Urza, who would use any chance she gets to be seen mostly naked, if not naked.
Yeah. Though it seemed like they comedically made her, like, jealous every time, like, the reporter passed over her and went to, like, Mira or Erza.
Yeah, but, that's because she saw herself as a beauty and, beautiful. And that was kind of more like, I guess, a running gag that, even though Lucy is fairly attractive, they make it seem like people don't find her attractive.
Yeah, and by the context of the chapter, she didn't seem too happy about doing it. I think she was just doing it for the money and to get into the reporter's, like, job. She, like, wanted a foot in the door, basically, and so did what she could. Because, like, right after it, she said, like, I want to be a writer. Can I have this job instead?
Job that actually involves writing. So anyway, and then of course the day, and then the semifinal match ends, and then they talk about how the reporter's like, oh, this year's not that good because it's good, but not doesn't have that flair of last year's since none of the big guilds, pretty much virtually all 8 of the guilds that made it into the actual games last year didn't compete.
Yeah.
So pretty much, so it makes a lot of people like, oh, it's not that interesting. They make it seem he basically says it's not that interesting. Case in point, it's just he doesn't feel like it's as
Right.
interesting, which is true because But anyway, so then they continue on. They then move on from there, and he talks about how, oh, and Fairy Tale was like, oh, it's not. Lucy's like, it's not possible. It wouldn't be. It doesn't matter. They don't exist anymore. And then he's like, well, if they don't exist anymore, why you still have the Fairy Tale envelope?
Right.
I mean, of course. I mean, he knows. He knows Lucy. He's a report. He knows well enough that she does that. It's not that difficult of an answer. She still has it because she still hasn't lost hope that they will one day come back
Right.
together. And he knows it too. It's obvious to anybody who's truly knows what's going on in the guild world. Know that Fairy Tale will come back one day. Now, then we go on and find out, how once again a scene with Lucy in the bathtub, and we get to she basically says, "Oh, I want to see them, but I don't want to see them, but I do want to see them, and I've been secretly tracking them all this time, basically long distance stalking them, to find out what they're doing." And of course, some of you, upon first reading, and even I, probably missed certain things. Like, for instance, it is, if you look closely enough, it looks like Gray and Juvia are traveling together. And for some reason, Urza's looks like to be working at some like cake shop or something. Because all you see, obviously you can't read what's on the card, but you see a picture of Urza, some words, and then a picture of cake.
Right.
So, and then of course, then we move on to, and before we move on to the next day, she tells how she hasn't found that Natsu apparently has been off. Natsu, of all people, there's been no information, any sightings of Natsu whatsoever, which is very un-Natsu-like. I mean, just look how easy it is for him to go overboard. And we're not even talking about what happened in this chapter yet.
Nope. No, he goes nuts even before this series began.
That's how the series began, with him going nuts. So anyway, then we go to the next day. She, once again goes there for the final day of the competition, and the one guy's like, oh, they basically announce who's being in the final match, and so the one guild has been basically dominating all their matches, and are basically, the favorites to win. Whereas the other guild, depending on the there was two different. I read two different translations of it. The one translation was talking about how that their victories were miracles, or they're saying how that this guild kept bringing miracles, implying that they've come from behind. Whereas another translation outright said that their victories have been come from behind. All their victories were come from behind. So basically, you have your classic scenario of the odds-on favorite against the underdog. And of course, the reporter once again goes with the crowd, and he says, "Oh, the odds-on favorites is the one that's going to win." But Lucy, in a very intriguing set of dialogue, basically says that the other guild is far more powerful than they've led up people to believe, and that they're probably going to be the ones to win. And the reason why they've been hiding their power was for the money. You know, not only would they win the prize money for winning, but if they probably were investing in a bet on themselves, saying, "Oh well, if we win, we'll So by making them seem like they were so weak, by hiding their true power, they could win. They could stack the odds against them, so they could bet on themselves and win much more money when they win. Now, Lucy's like, Lucy. Everyone's like shocked at this victory that this guild that was seemingly was the underdog won easily. And Lucy's like unimpressed, like, yeah, I knew it was gonna happen. And even though these guys are, she admits they're strong, but not really. They're strong, but they're not strong. Like, I mean, how proud of you can you say that you're the strongest out of all of the fodder guilds?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. And what makes this particular part of the chapter so intriguing is, after we learned what Lucy had been, some of the things that Lucy had done over the past year, and people were questioning, why does it sound like Lucy's done nothing to improve her magical skills over the past year? But then she throws this whole thing where, she's able to easily read their magical power of the one guild and realize that they've been holding back and be able to ascertain their full power. And, so it's definitely brought up some intrigue, but I'm going to talk about that after we go over the whole chapter. Now, the next part is what makes things interesting. You have after the one guild wins, a mysterious robed figure shows up to challenge the best guild in Fiore. And immediately, Lucy's like freaking out because this person is giving off an aura of such intense power that she's like tells everyone tells the reporter guy to have everyone evacuate and to have all available wizards that can fight to get their ass onto the field so they can try and stop this guy from doing something nefarious. But then quickly they seem to notice that it becomes very hot in the stadium, and that not only is the stadium beginning to melt, but in typical fairy tale fashion, a fan service excuse comes about, and that is the heat. It got so hot their clothes was melting off, and then the winning guild brings out every single one of their members, but this mysterious figure knocks them all out in one shot with no problem. And of course, after she realizes that the heat is coming from this mysterious figure, she's like, wait, it couldn't be. And it is. It was Natsu. Showing off once again. And of course, shows up with probably one of, his best look yet.
His best look.
By far. And, and then of course he does, some other wizards try to stop him and he disposes them quickly, and lo and behold, he finally notices Lucy once all her clothes has conveniently been finished burning off, melting off. And, they have that whole moment of like, Nani? You're here? Or what? Is that what they usually say when they're surprised? Like,
yeah.
In Japan,
either like, Nani or Nandeska. Nandato.
Yeah, they're like, what? You're here? Or if for those of you who are fans of Solid Snake, they had the exclamation point and just cue Snake. Yeah, that sound effect. With both of them, because she's like, see, another thing that adds layers to this scene is just the combination of happy feelings, the sad feelings, like all the mixed emotions and feelings that Lucy is expressing on her face in this scene I feel adds another like layer, because it's like you don't even she doesn't even know how to react to this, because every possible way emotion that can be felt from this she's feeling at that moment. And and then of course Happy shows up to lighten up the mood. And Happy's also got his little outfit.
Yeah.
Now and then, basically, that's pretty much I think where the chapter ends with them basically him saying, I guess, quote unquote, I think he gets off a high or something or whatnot, and then Lucy starts crying, and that's pretty much the chapter.
Yeah, he goes, "Yo, it's been a while, hasn't it, Lucy?" And then she's just like, "You okay?"
And so
That's it.
now that's pretty much the chapter, but so much still has to be talked about. One, just this chapter alone, obviously, as I already previously stated, basically sets up some type of go around Fiore and collect the other members type of arc. Go around and collect the other members type of arc. But it sets up so much more. For one, Lucy, her look didn't really change that much. I mean, her assets got a little bigger and her hair got longer, but as we learned with 2 chapters ago, she can use cancer to change her hair length at will. So that's not that big of a deal. But with Natsu's design change from post-time skip to pre-time skip, pre-time skip to post-time skip, just gives me such high hopes for amazing designs for the other characters.
Yeah, definitely.
And what they're going to look like. But based on what's going on right now, and honestly, it basically, to sum it up, Mashima,
Hiro
right?
Mashima.
Hiro Mashima did what most people don't do, and that is he learned from his mistakes. He did a time skip, and then he had the Grand Magic Games and the whole thing with the dragons and the eclipse thing and whatnot, and people were shitting on him for it. So what did he do? He gave us that whole thing with the village and the flame, the eternal flame thing, and then they give us the Taurus arc, and it just really pumped Fairy Tail up, and it allowed him to go into a second time skip so he could go back and basically push the reset button and give Fairy Tail a proper time skip. That's what he's doing. Everyone's going to get major power-ups and probably pretty, great, design changes. And, it's not just going to be their power that grows, it's going to be their personalities, your maturity is going to grow with it. And there have been some interesting things that have come about. Now, for all of you that have known, if any of you here are also, there are many series out there that involve older generations, and interacting with newer generations, and usually a lot of the times there's also that point in the series where they start showcasing that, hey, these new generation characters are kind of like coordinate or kind of like similar to characters of the older generation, and are going to basically become the new versions of those characters.
Right.
And now, with this one chapter alone, people are already starting to make claims as to which characters are going to correlate to the previous generations of Fairy Tail, or just the previous generations of of characters in the series in general. People are already stating that based on the one comment on the one guild's power alone, that there is a possibility that Lucy might end up becoming the next Mavis. Which I would like, because that would mean she's probably more useful, because the fact of the matter that she was able to do that makes it seem like maybe she might not have done as much battle training in terms of becoming stronger as a fighter, but it seems like she's become more magically aware. I mean, she seems smarter, and she also seems like she can, she can sense others' magical capabilities better,
Maybe.
which was a big part of what made Mavis such a good strategist, because she was able to was intelligent and was able to analyze the situation,
That would be sick.
both with her eyes, and not just on a physical level, but on a magical level too. And if it wasn't already obvious, people are calling Natsu the next Guild Arts, which pretty much is probably true. I mean, most people speculated that the last week's chapter probably took place close to the beginning of the time skip, and based on Natsu's design and power now, that's pretty much confirmed.
Yeah.
And that people are even claiming that not only is Natsu going to be the next Guild Arts, but that he probably is on par with Guild Arts at this point. Or at least how strong Guild Arts was a year ago.
I don't know about that. Guild Arts is pretty OP, and he still hasn't shown his full power.
Well, we haven't seen Natsu's full power either. I mean,
I know.
We don't remember. Natsu is End, so he is going to get even stronger than he already is, and we haven't even seen his full power.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but I mean of his own actual human power. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, we don't even know how this whole END thing works. First of all, because the whole, for instance, the whole point of the Tartarus arc was they were trying to resurrect END. The question is what happened to END long ago that, and that he became Natsu? Or, well, I mean, not that he isn't Natsu, but the fact is the Natsu as we know it now only a vessel and for END to be, and END is inside like on some Naruto stuff, with the demon being on the inside.
Is it Jinchuriki for the demon?
Or is Natsu as we know it now the true form of END? It's just that his power has been sealed.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I
think it is, because I don't want it to be that whole thing where, because that would be stupid if they just employed the whole thing, Jinchuriki thing from Naruto, because that doesn't feel original to me anymore. About a demon being locked away in, Natsu. So, but most likely, since AND stands for Aetherius Natsu Dragonil, most likely, when Natsu goes into Dragon Force, that's when the reason why I think his Dragon Force always seems to be so OP and allow him to overtake so many enemies that he shouldn't be able to, is I think when he goes into Dragon Force, it's not actually Dragon Force. It's him tapping into his END power. Because how many times has Natsu done... If you look at all the times Natsu's gone in the Dragon Force, the majority of that time that he did, he ate something that was in high concentration of Etherion. Like at the Tower of Heaven. That was pure, basically pure Etherion, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And then, what was it? He ate that, now I don't count that I don't know what the hell that stupid flame was that Jalal gave him.
Oh yeah, the Sacred Fire or whatever it was. Yeah.
Whatever the hell that was. But the point is the fact that Natsu probably has that hidden power of being END is probably why he was able to do so many things that he shouldn't have been able to do, such as eat God Slayer flames. If Gajio wouldn't have, eaten the shadows, it could have also been an excuse for why he was able to eat the lightning and keep it. But with Gajil also being able to absorb a second element too, it's kind of like we don't know. and God forbid, what the hell's gonna? Who knows what's gonna happen? What type of power ups the other members? What? Because remember, it's yes, it's gonna be a arc where it focuses heavily on the of finding the other members and getting them back together, but it's not gonna be like a long arc per se. But I'm sure there's going to be at least 1 or 2 chapters dedicated to each of the main guild members or groups of the main guild members, depending on who's traveling with who. So, but see, there's still so much things that they still have to talk. They have to, that have to happen.
Yeah.
And that is, if Fairy Tail gets the back together, will they rebuild the old guild hall? First of all. Second of all, who's going to be the master? Is obviously Makarov's not going to take over because he's done. With that, he disbanded Fairy Tail and retired. He's done. So who's going to take over? Guild, and I'm still saying it's going to be Locke.
Oh yeah.
Because, and it's just going to be interesting where they go from here. Because I still don't, despite the fact that they're going to have an entire arc dedicated to them coming back together, I still don't think that we're going to go right from that arc to an arc directly to the final arc, which is going to involve END and Zareth and Aknologia. I don't think that's going to happen.
Probably not.
So, and there's just so much of other stuff that they could explore, and who knows what else he has planned. So it's honestly, that makes me this one chapter has given fans so much hope for the future of Fairy Tail, because Fairy Tail has gotten a lot of bad rap, and unfortunately some of those issues are still going to be present, like friendship, the overdose of friendship speeches allowing for sudden power-ups, and the fact that you have fan service. But the fact of the matter is that I have great confidence that the series will get so much better from here on out, and that it makes me almost to the point where I feel like I should go to all those go to people who have dropped the series and say, hey, marathon through all this stuff, the stuff you missed, and get here back into the series because you need to. Though, of course, there's one person in particular in mind, but I highly doubt that my voice would be heard to this particular person.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like a detriment to his health almost. The fact that he was still reading it, like really.
Yeah. So no matter, with only one, even if every single one of his subscribers was begging him to get back on the Fairy Tail, he would. But just imagine everything that's happened. What he would say about everything that's happened since the chapter he quit on. Like, just imagine some of the stuff he would say about those.
I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't like it. Who knows?
I mean, for all you know, he would give it a chance, get it through, get to the Urza fight from the Tartarus arc, and then quit again.
He would probably quit there again.
But the fact of the matter is that, and just in case you guys don't know, figure it out yet, we're talking about the great King of Lightning. So, he is an entertainer. He is entertaining in every sense of the word. And from his, literally, he's said that before. What was it? He said it, I think, when he reviewed Bleach. He said it when he was reviewing Bleach last week, or the Bleach chapter we just reviewed. No, yeah, not the one we just reviewed in this one, but in last week's chapter. When he reviewed it, he said that because last week's chapter not much really happened. He felt like he said he'd rather do a live reaction for a shit chapter than a meh chapter, because whether it's crappy or it's amazing, it's going to be the live reaction is going to be entertaining.
Right.
Because you know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's boring to just be for an anime episode or a manga chapter to be meh. Because you're not, it doesn't get you excited and it doesn't get you
Right.
pissed off. And, but anyway, this chapter of Fairy Tail I felt was very good and gave us just enough to get everybody who still reads it to be stoked for what's to come.
Yeah, I thought it was decent and good. That's just me. I thought it was decent.
Well, I mean, I gave it a great mainly because of just what it did to set up everything. It gave us only a small amount, just the right amount of information. Because everyone was expecting, especially since it was a double chapter, that we were going to learn everything about what happened to everybody over the time skip in this one double chapter. And when you think about it, with there being so many members of Fairy Tail, a double chapter wouldn't be enough pages to really cover everything that he plans on having happened to the various members of Fairy Tail over the time skip.
Yeah, the only reason why I say decent to good is, like, the good end of that thing I liked the most was Natsu, basically, and his new appearance.
Oh, yeah.
Giving me a little bit of hope that maybe his character will get a little bit better. Because, I mean, for me, he was always likable until he stepped into battle.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens now.
And I'm still hoping, but the fans are also having collectively crossing their fingers that the next time we see Lucy in battle, that she hasn't gotten weaker.
Yeah.
Because yes, she seemingly has gotten more intelligent and has become in terms of mental abilities, has gotten better and possibly closer to being on par or started to lean more towards the Mavis side of skills. But I also don't want her skills as a celestial wizard to have diminished. And I would like to see, once again, we're all wanting to know, the big question on everyone's mind does she still have the Aquarius power-up?
Right.
Or is that just a one-time thing? I mean, people were saying that about friggin' Godjiel in his Iron Shadow Dragon mode. Well, because so did he absorbed the shadows during the finals of the Grand Magic Games, and then you didn't see it for a while. So you're like, oh, he must not have it anymore. And then he pulls it out.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wait that long to find that out. I want to know, definitely, if that's the case. Because I feel like the enemies that they're going to encounter post this time from now on are going to be on a whole new level. And I feel like that, her pulling out that kind of power-up should be the norm. Because especially, not many people are turning a blind eye to this, the current filler arc they're doing in Fairy Tail anime. But for one thing it does get over is how much Lucy loves her celestial spirits and how it pains her when her celestial spirits are in pain. And so it definitely would make sense for her character if she would keep this power up so that way she can fight alongside her spirits, so that way she's not putting so much pressure on her celestial spirits.
Right.
Especially since it's presumed, based on the fact that Aquarius's key is broken, that she won't have access to Aquarius for a long time. If not, maybe not even until the end of the series. Who knows?
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see for next week's chapter.
Yes, I think we've gone on long enough with Fairy Tail. So
Because we got more important things to talk about.
We got one more, and that is Toriko.
One? No. You skipped
We
over
didn't
One
have
Piece.
One Piece this week.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we talked about One Piece last week. Sorry. Alright, yeah. So, Toriko, sorry. My bad. Toriko, once again, coming out of the gate strong. Just another great chapter. And just blowing, like, let's see. First of all, we finally get confirmation that it was Sunny was the one who was talking at the end of last chapter saying Embu's secret technique. And that apparently the secret technique is utilizing Embu for attacking as opposed to defense. So, which is interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But at the same time, this chapter just... I've already said on the forum, Bambina isn't fair. I mean, within the first page, friggin' making Zebra nearly crap his pants just from Zebra touching him makes him almost crap his pants. Just blows my mind.
Right.
Like, Zebra, of all people. Zebra! He intimidated Zebra. That doesn't happen. Zebra saw his poison clone get its head blown off, and it didn't faze him. But he got intimidated by holding him, Bambina, to the point where he, out of fear, told everyone to go all out, before Bambina strikes back.
Yep.
And this is where things get crazy
and weird.
First of all, everyone starts doing signature techniques with Embu. Like you have the friggin' Embu beat punch, Embu poison rifle, the friggin' Embu beat hair lariat.
And the Mugen.
But the thing that confused me the most was an Embu Mugen punch. Like, really? Wait, what? Now, are you telling me that he can do a Mugen at will? Without even... He didn't even summon his Gourmet Beast's arms. He just did it. And it was enhanced by Embu. I'm like, really? I'm telling you, this is... And the fact that it didn't even look like it did that much damage.
And it stopped at some point.
Yes. It's like, why? Like, what are they thinking?
Yeah, that's one thing I don't understand is why he's making Toriko use Mugen Kugi all of a sudden. I think he should still be building up, like, progressively towards Infinite.
But I guess he feels the need to... I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm assuming that after the Area 7 arc, they're going to hopefully slow down maybe a little and have the fights with the other 8 kings be a little longer. So, and because I think the reason why they, at least in this particular case, they wanted to use Mugen was because they wanted to make it seem like Toriko wasn't holding anything back because they were in such a rush to take him out before he could counterattack. But I don't think that's going to be the case for at least the next 8 king they go up against. So I hope that we won't see Mugen again for a while. And I'm assuming, of course, that the 4 Heavenly Kings are going to continue using Embu for the rest of the series. That's going to be that's a common skill that they're going to be using in the Gourmet. Now, which makes things interesting because it's like, well, do any of the other areas that they're going to go to have the ability to use Embu, or is that something that was unique only to Area 7?
That's interesting. I don't think it is. I think all 8 kings probably know it.
I'm sure all 8 kings can do it, but I'm talking about like the creatures other than the 8 kings? Is it going to be a common skill, or is that something that only maybe like the top tier beasts and the 8 kings
Probably
can
the
do?
latter. Except for Area 7, of course. It's probably like an Area 7 specialty, but like everybody else, like who's top tier knows it.
Alright. Now, this is where things get like, and before all this, Mugen and whatnot, you have Zebra exclaim that Bambina's his skin is actually like a protective layer that's actually holding back, keyword, holding back his power. And that he was purposely taking damage to break that so he can unleash his full power.
Right.
Which then begs the question, was the capture level reading factoring in the fact that he was holding back, or did it actually show us his full power? Like, even after he's shed this outer layer and is able to use his full power, his capture level is still 6,000. Or did it just jump even higher?
Yeah, who knows?
God, and remember, we still don't know. Like, unfortunately, they never gave. It's hard because Bambina is the second 8 king we encountered, but is the first to have their capture level measured in person by the 4 Heavenly Kings. They didn't do it for the Heracles, and I believe it was during the cooking festival arc. They apparently showed you the Battle Wolf's supposed capture level of 6,000 something.
Yeah, it was like 6,007.
No, I think it was 6,060 or something.
No, it was really like really low in that. I think it was 7 or something like that.
No. I think it was a little higher than that though. I thought maybe 625 or something. Anyway, the point is that we don't know. Like, Heracles' power is supposed to dwarf, or no, sorry, not Heracles. Bambina's power is supposed to dwarf Heracles. I would love for them to go back and tell us what Heracles' actual capture level is. Because I want to know, in terms of capture levels, what it means to be dwarf. Because, obviously, as we saw when we saw the capture levels of one or two of the assistant masters of Area 7 who were helping Toriko and the others train, he was like, what, 12 something? 1,200 something?
It was like 1,500.
1250, like, yeah. So if the assistant masters, and I forget, how strong was that master they fought against?
I think it was 1,500, and they said, like, he was nothing compared to Heracles.
So if that's the case, Heracles isn't no capture level 2,000 or 3,000. He must be, like, capture level, like, 5,000.
Yeah.
Because in terms of 1,000 capture levels is pretty big of a gap. Especially when prior to the gourmet world, they've only been encountering differences of maybe 100 or about 100 or 200 maybe different capture level differences between creatures. And it wasn't until we got to the gourmet world where they started actually encountering creatures that had capture levels of 1,000 or greater.
Yeah.
So the fact that Bambina the capture level of 6,000 might be his weakened state, and that his full power might even be even higher, not only blows your mind, but you also have to think that using Embu, he could spike his capture level to take less damage from attacks, which means that boost that you just mentally gave him, could go even higher. Meaning he could even reach levels of, like, probably close to 10,000. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to actually see some physical numbers here.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm pretty sure we may get it because Mitsutoshi loves his stats. And so now what interested me, like some of the things that the two attacks, or should I say, or the two things that techniques that I saw that were most interesting from the Four Heavenly Kings is one, the combo attack with Sunny and Zebra's combo attack was very interesting. I like that a lot. But the that 3-man hold down of Bambina was amazing. You don't understand. They legitimately did actual wrestling moves. For those of you who don't know, Zebra and Sunny were doing both doing cross arm breaks, while Coco was doing the Ric Flair's legendary figure 4 lock. I was like when I saw that figure 4 lock, my brain jumped as high as Bambina when he does a soft jump. Like, really? Like, what? Like, I know that there are a lot of times when some mangaka, I think that's pronounced, will put in little bits and pieces here to make references to Western culture. But the fact they put in the figure 4 lock and that Coco was doing it just made it. And then of course that's where the awesomeness turned to weirdness. Gosh. And when Toriko got close to the ingredient, we'll say, he got a whiff, got to smell the ingredient they are trying to capture. And this time, at the sound of the ingredient caused them to fill their bellies and to heal their stamina and wounds. Their stamina. The smell of it caused the cells in Toriko's right shoulder to try to search for the missing arm so that way it could be reattached.
Right.
Pretty much confirming that Pear has the ability to do what they need to do. Because despite the fact that Toriko has been without a right arm for 3 days? I believe. It still has the ability to recover. Just shows you that and he's like, wait a minute, if the sound does this and the smell does this, what the hell is going to happen to me if I touch it? Let alone eventually eat it.
Still, that was just so weird.
This arc has just been getting weirder and weirder. I mean, thank God it's not the one thing that we thought that Pear was going to be. Because, I mean, we joked around about what Pear was going to be, and we were right. But thankfully, it's not the one part of, like... At first, I thought it was going to be one thing, but it's one, or that is related to that area of the body, but it isn't. Thank God. Because, I mean, instead of being that, it looks like what gonna make Pear the soup is the fact that it's pretty much the sweat.
I guess.
From that particular area of the body.
Like sweaty balls.
So, I mean, that's what it looks like. Yes. That's what it looks like. It looked like sweat was dripping down, and apparently... What?
So do you know who you're talking to?
Yes.
I don't see a face.
Because we're using video chat.
Oh. Hello.
Or not video chat, just the,
Hello.
That was my mom. She says hi. Anyway, so... that's what it basically looks like. That's what it looks like. And what makes it even more interesting is, or should I say weird, is the fact that they said that in order to make Pear fully ready to harvest, they have to basically beat the crap out of him. Which at first glance doesn't, seems like typical, doesn't seem bad, until you get to the fact that the reason why you have to beat him up is because that's what makes him happy. So in essence, to cut it dry, just to basically put it out there, in order to get pear to be ready and to be at its peak flavor so they can harvest it, cook it, eat it, and get a power-up from it, they have to, in a weird way, pleasure Bambino.
Basically, and then rip his nuts off.
I mean, this is what we were talking about earlier in the opening about how weird this stuff gets, and this isn't even the weirdest thing that happens in manga in Japan.
No.
That's the scary part. That's the scary part.
It's just a little weird for Toriko standards. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Toriko's done some weird stuff, but nothing close to this yet.
No, the whole smelling his sweaty balls was
and the fact that they're gonna have to drink the sweat of his balls
after pleasuring him.
Which is why it made that's why it makes me all the more glad that it's not his semen.
I know.
And that it's his sweat. But it's still the fact that they have to basically pleasure him to get his ball sweat.
Like, does he want to go back to jail, Mitsutoshi? I mean, he went to jail for like some pedophilic shit, but like.
Wait, so wait a minute. If we go to some please tell me, don't tell me that if I go and look up the list of all the names of all the prisoners that were in jail at that time that he was, then we're gonna find someone named Bambino.
Maybe.
And that person, basically made him made Mitsutoshi do some
which
shit.
gave him ideas for his story. It's like, what you did to me was really fucked up, but I think I can use this.
And make money off of it.
So, guess who's gonna get the last laugh? Me. You little bitch. That's like...
It's just so hilarious and disgusting when you think about it, but it's just... But that's Mitsutoshi. And then... But anyway, to move on, they apparently do enough when Toriko actually grabs it, and then pop goes the outer skin, and Bambina's true form is revealed. And it's hard to say how much bigger he's gotten because there wasn't actually a direct comparison immediately. You saw his whole body, what it looks like now, and then you saw facial reactions.
Right.
But based on the fact that when you got that whole, even though, based on, Kaka's design isn't very complex, and it doesn't, and doesn't really seem like it's capable of showing much emotion, but just the look on her face was like, oh,
yeah.
Fuck. And if that wasn't enough, just the look of Bambina's true form made 5 billion apes run while crapping themselves the entire way down. Like, holy shit.
And I have to say, Bambina's new look, from what we've seen, looks oddly like a cross between, like, a monkey and the pedo bear.
But, I liked his design before better. Because, he was pretty much the same size as the Four Heavenly Kings, it made it more hilarious that and mind-blowing that he was so powerful. I don't want him to, for instance, like the skin rips off and you find out he's, bigger, 10 times bigger than Heracles, and be like, really? We don't need another big-ass ape king. We're going to have enough of those coming up. We don't need another one that's Mondo
Well,
big.
if he's done growing, he's not going to be that big because on the last page we can still see the ring and we still can't see him. So if he's still smaller than the ring, then we're okay. But if he's not done growing, he could still become a massive. But you know,
that's what makes it so like.
I know. I'd rather him just stay like a smaller size.
Because it just makes things more interesting. Because you know. Anyway, now begs the question: what the hell are the four Heavenly Kings gonna do now?
Get wrecked.
Because as Kaka stated, even though they were able to attack with Embu enhanced techniques, they were still gonna only do maybe small amounts of damage. It's like friggin' going up against like Brock in Pokemon with only normal type moves. It's gonna do some damage, but it's not gonna do a lot. Because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, his power is... Every chapter has made Bambina seem stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. It's like, when is it gonna end? And he's not even the strongest 8 King. Delarose is supposedly the strongest. Right. But for some reason, the Battle Wolf is the most feared.
Yeah.
Which brings up a whole nother question. So, and we don't even know how strong these people, like, just the fact of the matter is that Bambina is at the power level he's at. This basically confirms it. The four Heavenly Kings are basically going to become basically going to be on par with the 8 Kings very soon enough.
Yeah, with if they level up with enough Akashia's food, yeah, definitely.
Like, because I can obviously at some point, like once we get through all the 8 kings, there's going to be a ranking list. He's going to come out with like a ranking. We're going to get official like full power capture level numbers, and we're going to be like, okay, finally be able to rank these guys in an order from weakest to strongest. And I see the 8 king or the 4 Heavenly Kings being somewhere above the midpoint.
Oh yeah.
Of those, like, with the 8 Heavenly Kings, I see them being around the capture level of like the top 3 most powerful, which are probably going to be Bambina, Battle Wolf, and Delarose in some order.
Yeah, probably.
And like just the fact that they're having like, you know, every 8 King is going to pose a different challenge to the 4 Heavenly Kings on how to, you know, how they're going to handle battling them. You know, you had Heracles, who and his whole thing with his breath, his lung capacity was his advantage, whether it be the massive power behind his breath of breathing out to the insanely powerful vacuum suction power of his inhales. Yep. And then Bambina with his just insane OP power and OP ability to basically ward off damage. And there's many other issues, like, you know, for the other kings that we haven't even touched upon. Like, for instance, as we all know, Kiss is the descendant of one of the Emperor Crow, which is going to be one of the 8 kings that they're going to come across in the future. Hello, a crow is a flying creature. How the hell are the 4 Heavenly Kings going to fight against a flying creature?
With Kiss? I don't know.
But all 4 of them can't fit. Well, probably because Kiss has been, just like the other 2, has been getting progressively bigger. And I mean, I guess you could say, okay, the battle Harry's gonna get bigger, and but the fact of the matter is that, like, are we gonna start seeing the Toriko characters like friggin' walking on air, so they can and flying, so they can fight against a flying creature?
Maybe one of the full course things will give them flight.
I mean, I honestly think that that's something that has to. And here's another thing that you have to think about. How the hell are they going to fight against the Mother Snake, who is so long that she wraps around the entire Toriko Earth? Like, and it is said that and because of that, the fact that she is so long, it is nearly impossible. It is considered nearly impossible to encounter the head.
Guess that's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but we've known how, like, ever since Quinn came in, that was the case with Mother Snakes. But what begs the real question is, with the creature so big that it fits around the whole, like, is it always traveling? Because as we know, the gourmet world makes up the majority of the Earth, the Toriko Earth. When it wraps around the Earth, is its entire body? Its entire body must only be in the gourmet world part. Because if it was like a globe, if you had a globe with a Toriko Earth, you could, and say, the North Pole and say for instance the U.S. and like say the central, like the North America could represent like that, like kind of like that area would almost be represented, and maybe even like parts of Central and South America would be represented would represent the human world on the globe, and the rest of the globe would be the gourmet world. So if that's what I kind of sort of get, is that one, that it's possible to go from like the north, like it almost looks like if it was a globe, that the Toriko's Earth, its North Pole and South Pole, and everywhere in between you can actually go from the North to the South Pole without leaving the gourmet world. Almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that actual kind of thing. So that means that there's a possibility, because there's no way that the Mother Snake goes through the human world, or else you would have seen it.
Right.
So that means its entirety of its body is contained within the gourmet world. So what areas does it go across?
Nobody knows.
Because it can't. So but that's something that we're gonna learn when we get there. Is okay, based on the way it goes, its body remains in only the gourmet world, and you didn't notice this because we decided to skip over it, but hey, it went through this area that you already were in, but you didn't see it because it wasn't part of the story at the time. Like, we might find out that, because Toriko and the others went underground at some point, that the Mother Snake's body might have gone straight through friggin' Area 7, for all we know.
It's big enough.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? So, and honestly, I don't see this. I see them obtaining pair within the next 2 to 3 chapters. Because Bambina is just too OP for it to last for too long. For the fight to last too long. Especially since there's nothing else going on. Like, when in the last area, Toriko was fighting against Heracles, but they were switching back and forth between all the other stuff that was going around, so they didn't. So, but if you piece together all the scenes of Toriko versus Heracles, you might only get maybe 2, maybe 3 chapters worth of panels. So, the fact of the matter is that last chapter was 1 chapter. This chapter was another. Well, last chapter we only got maybe half a chapters. They only started the fight maybe halfway through, maybe. this is the full chapter, so maybe we only have this fight's only been going on for a chapter and a half. So I see in another 2 to 3 chapters them obtaining pair.
Yeah, probably.
So, but this was definitely another good chapter. I would even go as far as to say it was a great chapter.
I would say good. I don't know about great. I thought it was a good chapter. It was definitely a weird chapter. That's for sure.
Ever since we learned what pair actually was, when hasn't it been a weird
True.
chapter? And
this was the weirdest though so far.
Yeah, I would definitely have. I mean, a close second would definitely have to be last chapter with the whole
yes
sound. So I just stoked for next week.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't make it even weirder where like they like bite his nuts or one of them bites his nuts or something like that.
No,
like,
no.
Fuck it, I'm taking pair.
Well, they're gonna have. Well, it looks like they're basically leading it off to be that. They're leading it to be that they're gonna have to rip it off. So they're gonna have to touch it again. It's not like they're gonna like fight for a little bit and then Bambina's like, I like you guys. Drink my ball sweat. No, they're gonna have to take it off, and Kaka's gonna have to prepare it, so that because no ingredient, there's a lot. Even all special ingredients not only have to be, they have to be prepped and cooked in a certain way. It's not just okay, like for instance, so even though they're gonna have to, in order for it to be, they have to do certain things to make pear ripe, and then once they obtain a ripe pear, then they're going to have to cook it a certain way, probably to make it taste, maximize its taste.
Right.
Most likely. So, definitely. But see, here's a funny thing. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be good to have Komatsu back. But just, I'm already starting to picture the face on Komatsu's face when he finds out he drank monkey ball sweat. It's just hilarious. But yeah, I think that's just about it on Toriko. Yep.
Alright then. Alright, so we're back to Shokugeki no Souma. So last time on Shokugeki no Souma, Hayama won. Woohoo, I guess. But this chapter really humanized Hayama even more, because we actually see June come out and run to him and say, like, you should be more excited. But he responds in a way that she doesn't expect, and that's to embrace her very quickly, which is also an anime trope. But besides that, it was really awesome. Like, it was drawn beautifully. I think the author is great at writing, and the artist, who's separate from the author, is very, very good at drawing emotion. And I think especially drew that hug panel, that long panel, really, really well. And then it sort of seems awkward between the two of them, where it's like this sort of I don't want to say sexual tension, but almost like emotional tension, where there's like almost like lovers or something like that. And then Yoshino, I think her name is, right, picks up on it. The girl with the pigtails, small pigtails. She kind of picks up on that, and you see like a glimmer in her eyes. And then like the next main point was Souma and Kurokiba trying out the Carpaccio, which turned out, they were saying what they said in front of Hayama, trying to put on airs, but you could tell when Souma was talking to his dad that he really acknowledged that Carpaccio as something like next level. And so that brings us to the next point, which is Soma talking to his dad, which is a really good conversation. It showed that Soma understands why he lost, and the fact that he's going to explore these new options of his cooking, quote unquote. And I think his name is Juichiro, right? He seems very happy that he left and went to Tootsuki because of the fact now he's learning. And I'm not quoting verbatim, but as far as I know, he said, you know, he needed somebody who could knock him on his butt. As far as the translation I read, which was Hayama, of course, and Kurokiba, and then we see a nice panel of Soma, Kurokiba, Hayama, Alice, and Subaru. I don't remember if there were any more. Um, I just got home from college, but so that's that's about it. It was a really good chapter. Like I said, for the emotional drawing plus the writing, it was a nice cap on the tournament. So yeah, I'm guessing this is the end of the arc. There might be some kind of ending to it, like a more of a cap type of episode chapter. That really kind of puts the button on it and really finalizes everything. Even though I thought this was a good enough one, and I can't wait to see what the next arc is going to be about. I really can't. And I know I said this a couple times, but I really can't stress it enough because I'm really enjoying Shokugeki no Soma, especially as a result of this arc. And I cannot wait for the anime, and I cannot wait for the next arc. So yeah, that's among the two of the big three that are still going on, Toriko and Fairy Tail, and I mean there's all this shit going on. But you know what? I'm stoked for the little guy, Shokugeki no Soma, who's been climbing up the ranks though. I'll say that much.